How would you design the city of the future? What will we do in terms of urban housing development, the public space and the green areas in the city? How do we make cities pretty and attractive? And how will we travel? My name is Geert Kloppenberg. In the last 5 years, I let myself be inspired by conversations with urban designers and scientists. But most of my ideas come to me by visiting places myself and then imagining how things could be done differently. I will show you my view of the Netherlands and why it's important to deal with the issues of urban housing development, the municipal parks and the new ways of travelling simultaneously because of the limited space available in a small country such as the Netherlands, the goal of reducing nitrogen emissions and other climate goals that have to be achieved. The city of now and the future. We have a choice. Let's start with the urban housing development. How many extra dwellings do we really need? Are we going to build 10-storey apartment blocks? Should we build in the city centre or should we build beyond the ring roads? I'd like to take you to Zutphen, a city in which a disused industrial area located just behind the train station was completely transformed into a residential complex.
We zijn hier, dames en heren, in Zutphen en ik vind dit het voorbeeld van de 15-minutenstad, waarbij er vlak bij een station, maar ook vlak bij het centrum, een nieuwe wijk neergezet wordt, waarbij alle bestaande voorzieningen, van de bibliotheek tot de culturele voorzieningen, tot de sportwijken, tot de IJssel die er al ligt, optimaal gebruikt worden en alles op 15 minuten afstand zit.
Next, I'd like to talk about the new build housing and how we should go about designing this. In this respect, I would take the example of how the city Diemen built the Holland Park. The development is not of megalomaniacal proportions, so no 10-storey buildings, but very compact with high densities. The buildings are close together, with good public spaces on the inside. They are in the close vicinity of several train stations, and it's not far from Amsterdam. This is a disused industrial estate at the Kanaaldijk in Apeldoorn. There's enough space here to build houses, and it's within the ring road. These kind of places exist all over the Netherlands, which means that 70% of new builds could be built within the city centres of the 40 biggest cities in the Netherlands. This would also mean an incredible reduction in mobility, and if we build the houses in the right places and in a compact way, we would be left with a lot more space for green areas and other purposes. And I would like to touch on the urban renovation development. This is Waansveld, close to Zutphen. Here we find typical houses from the 1930s, which all have to change from using natural gas to a different kind of energy for heating and cooking. The houses are badly insulated and the public space could be designed so much better. Across the Netherlands there are around 7 million houses like this. This is not just about building new houses and renovating existing houses, but also about designing the public space. Because where will we lay out our municipal parks? How can we ensure that sports fields are being made better use of?
We zijn hier in Leiden en een van de meest bijzondere dingen is het Singlepark, wat dus als een stadspark continu doorloopt. En wat het mooie daaraan is dat er dus voor de mensen die hierachter in kantoren werken en Leidenaren die hier wonen, dat ze hier dus overal in het hele rondje het stuk kunnen wandelen, maar dat je niet elke keer maar een half stukje hoeft te doen, maar dat het helemaal een stadspark rondom geworden is.
The city of Haarlem is home to one of the oldest municipal parks in the Netherlands, the Haarlemmerhout. The interesting thing about the Haarlemmerhout is its function for the surrounding estates. Just see how important this municipal park is for these people, to be able to get some fresh air within walking distance from your house, and to even have a dance. And these aspects of a city and the public space are crucial in the urban design, as they determine the quality of life in the city. The second interesting thing about the Haarlemmerhout is that it's very open. There's not a single fence around this park, which means it's accessible to everyone at every moment of the day. Another example that's worth mentioning is Kerkrade, where they only added a municipal park at a much later stage. So here they made the conscious decision to remove a block of houses because they forgot to include a green area of this kind in the design. And just see how that has benefited this residential area. Another great example of a new municipal park is the Waterkant in Zutphen. Here you can see that there used to be a through road with parking spaces along the river, but that this has all been cleared to make a continuous promenade park. And look at the difference with a similarly beautiful city like Deventer, where there's still a road along the river. Now you can just imagine the possibilities here. Another place that shows the big difference is Warnsveld, a suburb of Zutphen. Here there are hardly any real good parks for children to play in. Just look at how the play areas are built in here, surrounded by fences, with a token bit of green here and there. There's no real area to enjoy and to be together. Another good example of a place with great potential, even more centrally located, is this area of Rotterdam. Suppose they would just use this disused railway, the Hofplein line, and also design the roads differently, similar to the High Line in New York, or like they've done in Seoul. Then you will see that it's actually possible to create new municipal parks or gardens here. And just imagine what those kinds of additions would mean for your city. Sports clubs are also a crucial part of urban life. However, what's interesting about the sports clubs, which often have their grounds within the city centre, is that thanks to Hera's fencing, they're completely shut off from the public space. But what if we could remove the Hera's fencing all around the sports grounds in the city, thus giving them back to the public space? Then people could use them to go for walks or cycling as well.
Mijn vraag was eigenlijk dat die hekken een totale schijnveiligheid geven. Iedereen klimt er zo overheen. Stel je voor dat ik hier gewoon doorheen zou kunnen wandelen alsof het Haarlemmerhout is. Dit hek is weg, dat hek is weg en dat je hier een heel klein jeu de boel baantje zou hebben voor het verzorgingstehuis. Dat de oudjes even naar de voetbal zouden kunnen komen kijken. En dat we dit ook weer echt als openbare ruimte gaan gebruiken op verschillende tijdstippen voor veel meer doelgroepen. Nou, hier zie je eigenlijk heel goed wat het betekent dat je het decor bouwt voor iedereen voor een periode van 200 jaar. En hoe mooi het is als je op details let voor de publieke ruimte voor iedereen. En moet je dan opletten als we hier om de hoek zijn, dat je dat bouwt. En dat dat voor 300 jaar moet blijven staan. Ja, dan is er wel degelijk een vraagstuk om kwaliteit te bouwen. Want daar is nog wel enigszins voor verbetering vatbaar.
When discussing public space, we soon arrive at the issue of our streets. And when you drive through the streets of Maastricht, Kerkrade or Leiden, of any city, you will see the extreme amount of stone and concrete. At times of heavy rainfall, it's very useful to have more green areas in cities. And here you can see that it's not necessary for cellars to flood, as the excess water in times of a heavy downpour is redirected to flood the lawn instead. And here in Leidse Rijn, you can see how it's possible to change a concrete public parking area into an enclosed public garden with trees. And those trees are not only pretty, but will absorb 170 litres of water during downpours, and they can also bring down the temperature on extremely hot days.
Nou ja, hier zie je eigenlijk heel duidelijk dat er zo ongelooflijk veel auto's in die woonwijken staan, dat je niet meer kan wandelen, dat je het fietsen hier mega gevaarlijk is, omdat je dus echt helemaal geen bal ziet op al die hoeken. Zo kan het dus ook. Alle auto's de straat uit en dan geef je dus de straat volledig terug aan mensen en aan kinderen.
In conclusion, a well-designed municipal park, redesigning the streets and good public facilities have a direct influence on the quality of living in and around your house. Travel is an essential part of life in the city, but we're encountering ever more problems. For example, 175 million inner-city car journeys per year in a city like Rotterdam, and in The Hague 125 million. In addition, due to the delivery economy, the number of journeys with delivery vans through residential areas has increased exponentially. We created about 14 million parking spaces, 7 million at home and 7 million at work, and this is what the streets in our cities look like nowadays. Every day we can see the effect that all of this has on children who cycle to school. Approximately 17 children a day get knocked off their bikes in the traffic. We also see that double-decker lorries drive through residential areas at 8 o'clock in the morning to deliver their cargo. Another issue concerning mobility which is often overlooked is the biggest growth in terms of housing has been taking place outside of the city ring roads. And due to this enormous growth, the collective transport systems have become ever more important, but those systems have not expanded very much in the last 30 years. If we were to start using the space in the underground car parks better, life in the cities can become healthier, cleaner and safer, because at the moment there are countless underground company car parks along the ring roads that are pretty well empty. We could also use these car parks to park sharing cars, which people can use to get on the motorway from there. That way, the overly full streets in the residential areas can be emptied, and then we can give priority to walking, cycling and slow collective transport, thus halving the amount of movements and car parking spaces in the residential area and streets. The city and its surrounding area is often called a daily urban system, which means nothing more than that approximately 80% of all traffic consists of journeys of 5 to 10 kilometers through or around the city. In order to reduce the number of individual car movements, we could introduce dedicated bus lanes on the ring roads for the fast electric bus systems, like they have in the city of Groningen. And then we could simultaneously look at how to improve the way we use the railway systems. A perfect example in this respect is the way the railway system was changed during the Grand Prix in Zandvoort, when there were 10 trains every hour, all using the existing railway line. Another great example is Paris, where they have self-driving metros that pass once a minute, a system that's been working and active since 1997. In conclusion, when we're faced with these kinds of big renovations in the Netherlands, we have the option to make different choices. Choices that will enable us to deal with the challenges in the field of housing, livability and mobility in one go and simultaneously, in conjunction with one another rather than separately. and we can thus make an important contribution to the climate goals and the reduction of nitrogen emissions. To put it briefly, there's no shortage of space, but a shortage of correct decisions.